In this sport, you don't wait for judges to decide your fate. TenexToken puts you in control. Stake instantly, speculate discreetly, and keep your moves private. TenexToken. Play smart, play discreet.
This is Colin Wigan for IFLTV. Delighted to be joined by Jamie Moore and Nigel Travis. I'll go to you first, Jamie. You said to me on an interview the other day you wanted rounds, and every time he gets out quick, it annoys you. Did it annoy you today?
No, it doesn't annoy me when he goes out quick. I actually quite enjoy it, like in a bit of a sadistic way. But we need rounds for him. Like that's obvious in the long run. But you can't complain when your fighter's doing a job like that against someone who's got the pedigree and the calibre of that type. Obviously we want rounds, but it's like every time he gets sort of poked or someone remotely tries to push him a little bit, he bites back and puts him into place to a certain extent, and that's the result. So it's a phenomenal problem to have. Let's not beat around the bush.
Nigel, I noticed you jumped up. I think it was after the second knockdown, and you just told Pat just to calm down. Did you see him maybe getting hit with something in an exchange, or?
I think there's always a danger of that, but it's fuel to his fire. So I don't want that. He didn't need that. So it's just so he can calm, because he's a dangerous kid. That's the God's honest truth, and everyone's seen that now. We've seen that for years, and he can do it. And
he also needs to keep a few cards in his back pocket as well. Don't throw them all out on the table yet. In time.
How special is he? You've both worked with a lot of special fighters, but how special is Pat Brown?
Well, listen, he's phenomenally talented and powerful. And in terms of natural ability, I said this last week in an interview, because the topic of Ricky Hatton at the minute and how much of a phenomenal fighter he was at a young age. Pat is cut from the same cloth in that sense. He really is. He's one of the most naturally talented kids you'll ever come across, and his work ethic's second to none. So all the ingredients what you need to be successful are there, and it's just about guiding it in the right direction. And it's going to cost Eddie and Frank a few quid, I think, in opponents, because no one's going to want to fight Pat Brown for shit money.
He's moving very fast, Nigel, and obviously it's good in a way, but also dangerous in a way. In terms of what you guys look for next, who's the opponents that maybe you've already spoke about this, I don't know, but is there anyone that comes to mind when you think about what's next for Pat Brown?
I think the biggest thing straight away is got to be sparring. So, because in a sparring capacity, we can control it, we can have different people doing it. So that's important as a training team that is navigated correctly. So opponents, as Jamie just said, no one's going to want to fight him. No one certainly in Britain will want to fight him without getting a hell of a lot of money. So that's
I don't mean they won't want to fight him. We're not about at this level, because the money's not great at this level. But I'm sure as you go up through the levels, then people are going to want to fight him and see how good he is. Test himself against him. People will fancy it against him, but we're only just scratching the surface in terms of his overall ability. He's been sparring some really good kids, and everyone who spars him says the same thing. Say you've got a world champion on your hands there. So it's just about us making sure we guide him in the right way and get the best of his ability.
Do you look at guys like maybe Chev Clark and Vidal Riley, and they're not too far in the distance?
The next fight, hopefully, will be the winner for the English title. So that's what we're looking at.
But you have to ask yourself, will those people? Again, it's a business. That's what they're there.
The only reason as well we're doing that is because we want to go the traditional route. We don't want to skip it. We don't want to miss out, because we're all firm believers of that traditional route, especially going through the British title. Brings you up to a certain level. You've seen it time and time again over the years where people win the British title and you sort of look at it and go, they're probably round about British level. And then after a couple of fights at British level, all of a sudden they've got experience under the belt and they're ready to move up. So we don't want to rush that process in a sense, but we're not going to be able to hang around like you can do with your average prospect, because you just won't be able to get the rounds out.
Before I let you go, I need to ask you this question. Dave Allen said in an interview that he's going to be out in the northeast at the beginning of the year. Do you two have any idea on an opponent for that yet?
No.
You looked at each other like you do there.
No. As far as I know, it's just a run out. In the one early in the year is an 8-rounder. Just keep him in the gym, keep him active, so he doesn't go and eat loads of sweets and drink loads of coke. And then apparently a bigger fight in sort of end of March.
And what's the names you'd be looking at for that bigger fight?
And I'm hoping it's something around British level, because that's where.
So it wouldn't be the likes of a Zhilei Zhang that he was saying the other day.
Well, I think he said in an interview the next day, I don't really want to fight Zhang. I'm just putting it out there. He's really good at selling himself, Dave. And in all honesty, he don't have to sell himself because he's just a likeable character. And, I've seen loads of comments, or some comments, where they're going, it's ridiculous him talking about fighting X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. I get what they're saying, but half of it's said tongue-in-cheek, half of it's selling himself. He's popular, not just because he's a good fighter, but because he's very, very likeable and people can relate to him. And I said to him, listen, ride this wave for as long as you can, because the boxing's a short career. You get the most out of it, whatever you can. And, people keep talking about Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder's nowhere near the fighter he was. And if that fight came along, I would go, absolutely, why not? Roll the dice again. Because, I know he didn't perform to the best of his ability against Makhmudov, but he gave him a hell of a fight. And if he'd have been a little bit more active over the last couple of years, I truly believe he could have beat him. Now, he is now keeping that activity going, and who knows what he can do.
And it was very, very marginal. So by that I mean, there was moments in it. The first round, he hit him, and you're thinking he's going to get him out of there, and it's like. But again, he had to calm down. Didn't want to burn it out. But he just took too much too early.
He wasn't cute enough with his defence. Took him on the arms and gloves. Took a few flush shots. Should have rolled him a bit more. Used his feet to step out. But that's what I mean about activity, because he's not been actively boxing at that level recently. He was just off it a little bit. But what an unbelievable performance, considering the inactivity over the last sort of 3 or 4 years.
Before I let you go, you two have been involved in judging controversies before. Did you watch Boatty Parker?
We didn't watch it, but we've heard it wasn't a great decision.
What can be done to help this? It's like a pandemic in boxing, right? I didn't get to see it, but I've heard probably the same as you.
Listen, we can keep going round in circles all the time. We had this with Jack and Josh the first time round. Something's got to be done, and it's all right.
But you're a former fighter, right? Now that you've been around the game so long, is there anything in your mind that you think will change it?
I hate AI, right? I absolutely hate it, because I just feel like it's Terminator writ all over it, where eventually something's going to happen and the world's going to end, or something shite. But while it's manageable, something along those lines has got to be done, because if there's criteria put into a computer and that reads the fight and then goes, well, really, you three who have just come to a decision, which is everyone around can see that it's miles out.
Then it's only really going to be punch output, really, isn't it? And punches landed.
Not really.
And it has to, well, that can also be changed, but it still has to be down to somebody to say whether what they program in it, I presume. And the people have to be accountable. That would be my suggestion. Accountable and not.
The usual suspects are always involved in these controversial decisions, and nothing's ever done. So maybe if something was done.
Do you think they should have to do interviews after they do it?
Why not? A fighter can get punched to the living daylights out of him. 99% concussed, certain that they're concussed. You have to stand in front of a camera and do an interview. Yet a judge doesn't have to do that, or a referee who's made a bad decision. It's insane.
So they're not answerable. No, there's no responsibility there. They can just make, and it does destroy kids. It can destroy kids'
Maybe
careers.
That's the first point of call. First point of call is make whoever who's making these bad decisions responsible for what they've done. Do you know what I mean? If they've got,
I'm sure the British Boxing Board
if there's consequences to it, then maybe something
would
will be done.
say they're answerable to us, so they want to keep it in house. That's not right. Oh,
By the way, I have no issue with a decision going against someone where, say for instance, there's 2 or 3 rounds at it, and then you go, well, some of those rounds were close. and it could have gone the other way. And there's like a debate. It's an argument. By all accounts, I've heard that there was no doubt whatsoever that he lost that fight. How can 3 judges all come to that conclusion? Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and most people, normal, I'm not saying normal, but people who are not maybe educated in the sport, they know. So, and it's people, the laymen or people who just want to enjoy the boxing. It's them going, you know what? It's been that, and the corruption or whatever it is, and turning off. So actually, we damage ourselves as a sport, I believe.
Well, before you two get fined in some regard, I'll end this interview here. Really appreciate it as always, lads. Appreciate it.
Well, my first time.
In this sport, you don't wait for judges to decide your fate. TenexToken puts you in control. Stake instantly, speculate discreetly, and keep your moves private. TenexToken. Play smart, play discreet.